So I'm going to get you set up on your paper. Switch over to my camera here and stop share. Okie dokie. All right, so we've got our paper here from your packet and we want to divide it into the right amount of shapes. There are two ways to do that. One way involves a ruler and one way does not. So if you have if you don't have a ruler, this is probably the way for you. If you do have a ruler, maybe sit tight and I'll show you that method in a second. All right, first thing we want to do is find the center of our paper. And so I'm going to fold my paper in half, hamburger style. Okay. And I'm just going to mark it in the corners. I don't even need to fold the whole way. I just need to know where that center line is. So it's a little folded in the center, but I was just looking for this part and this part. Okay, so that's if you don't have a ruler. That helps us find the center. If you do have a ruler, you can take your ruler and lay it against the bottom edge. I happen to know that this is 12 inches, but I'm going to measure just in case. And I'm going to take my pencil and I'm just going to mark at the 6-inch mark. I don't need to go the whole way across. I just want to do a little mark. And then I'm going to do the same thing up at the top. Line up my ruler, make sure that the lines are on the ends, and make a little mark at the 6. Okay. So now I've found the center. Notice I didn't draw a line down the center. There's actually not. It's kind of more of a diagonal, but I have my center. All right, the next step is in the middle of your paper, nice and big and bold, is to write the word art. Now, I can do this a couple of different ways. I really encourage you to do it block letters. If you don't like block letters, that's fine. You don't have to. If you don't really know how to do block letters and are curious, I'm going to show you two methods for that now. If you're like, no, I got block letters, I'm a pro, feel free to skip this part. Okay, in the very center of my paper, I want to write the word art. Now I'm going to start art by just writing ART in regular lines. It's backwards on my screen. I hope it's not backwards on yours. Okay, so this is one of my favorite methods. Now I wrote it lowercase. You can write it uppercase. That's fine either way. Okay, so I have regular lines, but I'm trying to get these into block letters. Here's my $1 million trick. Are you ready? I'm going to imagine that each of these lines is full of electric current, right? It's got electricity running against it, and it's creating kind of a force field. I keep trying to get close to it, but that force field pushes me away. So here I go. I'm going to just make lines that are kind of equally distant from that center line. So I'm imagining that I'm trying to get close, but this force field will only let me get so close. And I end up with a line around my center line. So I'm trying to keep it equal distance away best that I can. That's a force field sound. You can probably do a better one. Okay. And then I would go into the center and I would erase. I'm not using my art eraser here. And look, I've suffered the consequences. I got smudges on my paper. Don't tell the art teacher, okay? I can take my eraser and erase that center line. Always use your art eraser. I know better. Okay. And then you're left with a block letter. It's kind of rounded, so it's somewhere between a bubble letter and a block letter. I could make the corners pointier if I wanted it to be more of a block letter, or I could make them more rounded if I wanted them to be more of a bubble letter. But I'm just going to go boop, 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 all the way around, a little force field, and then erase that center section. Oh, look how much nicer it is now that I use the right eraser. And then the same thing with my A. And I might need to turn my paper a little bit. It's easier to move my hand this way than the other way. I think that's just the mechanics of the way our hands are built. But I'm going to make it easy for me. I don't think artists are lazy per se, but they're really good at finding out tricks, hacks to make their life easier. Don't forget the center of the A. Okay, I kind of like how those two are overlapping. I think that's a nice effect. And then I erase my center line. Okay, I could clean that up if I wanted to, but you get the basic idea. There are some block letters. All right, I told you I was going to show you two techniques for making block letters. So I'm just going to pull up my second paper here, and I'll show you the second effect. Now the second technique is more of, I like to think of it as building like you have 2x4s. So let's pretend that I've got a bunch of 2x4s, and which is basically what shape? A rectangle. I'm just going to build my shapes out of rectangles. So I start with that first one. Make it a little darker so you can see. I normally wouldn't draw that dark, but I want you to see. And then I'm going to take a second rectangle, aka 2x4, and I'm going to lay it across the first one. And then maybe I take a third rectangle. This one might be a little bit skinnier, a little piece of wood, and I lay it across the top. And then I can take my eraser here, and any place where they overlap, I'm going to erase that. Okay, and maybe I'll square off the top there and then go back over it so it makes more sense. I'm kind of rushing. You guys would take your time. But you can see how that builds a block letter. Okay, let's try it with an R. So maybe I'll do an uppercase R here. I'm going to start with my rectangle. There's my 2x4. And maybe I'll get the leg of the R using that 2x4. Well, now I've got to do this circle. Well, what's kind of round in my yard? All right, maybe I've got an old tire. So I'm going to take my old tire, which is just two circles inside of each other, like that. And then any place where they overlap, I can erase. There's no right way. Everyone has a method that works for them. This is just another option. Okay, and then T, that's going to be a little easier. Let's do uppercase T for this one too. So I'll just lay down 2x4 rectangle there, and then I'll lay down a 2x4 rectangle here, and then I erase the inside. All right, if you have a method that works better for you, that's fine. These are just a couple options for how you can make a block letter. Okay, now that we've got our block letters, I'm going to show you how to divide the space so that you can add in your different texture, value, color, shape, etc. Everyone wants to draw a line down the center, but I'm going to ask you to resist. We're actually going to make two triangles or two V's. One comes up from the bottom, hits that center point, goes down again. One comes down from the top, hits that center point, goes up again. So here we go. I'm going to start from that middle mark that we did, either by folding or by using our ruler. And I'm going to line it up so that I hit the corner of the paper and that mark that I made perfectly if I can. Now here's the tricky part. I've got a letter right in the middle and I've got to skip it. So I have to pay attention, and when I reach that letter, hop, I got to jump up to the other side. Okay, you don't want to draw through your letters as much as you can. All right, then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Line it up at the point where I hit the edge of the paper, and then line it up with the corner of the paper. And again, I'm not going to draw through those letters, so I have to pay special attention so that when I reach those, hop, I jump all the way over it, and then back out the other side. Ta-da! Okay, let's do the same thing on the bottom. So I'm going to start at this corner. Make sure it's lined up. Yep. Make sure it's lined up. Oh, that's perfect. And then I'm going to watch out for my letter. I'm not going to hit it. So I go slowly, slowly, slowly up. Nice. Down. Perfect. One last one. Line it up from this corner. Got it. That corner. Got it. Okay. And then I only have a tiny corner of my letter I need to miss. Hop. But I did. Okay, looking good. So here are my sections. Now I like to label them so that I don't forget. If you want to just look up at the slideshow, that's totally fine. I like to label them nice and lightly in pencil, just because when you get old, you start to forget things. I just want to make sure that I erase them before I fill them in. So I'm just going to nice and lightly label line, as light as I can, and shape. And again, these are on the slideshow, so you can always go back and look at them. And then I have texture, nice and light so I can erase it. Value, that's light and dark. Space, that's the sense of depth or distance. And over here I had form, being 3D or looking 3D. And in the center, that crowd pleaser color. Awesome. All right, feel free to look at this video again. You can go back and start and stop and follow along, whatever works for you. On your worksheet, there's a place to brainstorm different types of texture or value or color or space, just so you can start building those ideas. When you feel like you have an idea, go ahead and put them in here. So I would fill this one with space, and this one with value, and this one with an example of texture. This could just be splotches of color. It could be two of your favorite colors. They could be camo, they could be stripe, it could be polka dot. This one should just have a lot of color. Shapes would go here, and line would go here, and form would go here. I'm actually going to make a demo, so I'll kind of sketch it in, and then I'll have you come back for the next step. Okay, good work. See you soon.